The Life of a Sailor, From a Small-Town Dreamer to Captain of the Seas, by Silent Screams. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I am an old man now, sitting on a wooden bench by the shore of the town where I was born. The sea stretches before me, endless and calm, as if it is mocking the storms I once faced upon it. Children run along the beach, chasing the tide, and I can't help but see myself in them, wild, curious, and full of impossible dreams. You see, my life was never meant to be ordinary. At least, that is what I always told myself, even when the people around me laughed. I was born in a small coastal town where the horizon was the only promise of something bigger. My father owned a little shop that sold fishing gear, ropes, and all sorts of supplies to sailors. Everyone assumed I would one day inherit the shop, settle down, marry a local girl, and spend my life behind a counter, mending nets and counting coins. But I had other plans. From the moment I learned to read, I devoured every book about the sea I could find. Old, dusty journals from sailors, thick atlases with maps of oceans I could barely pronounce, stories of storms and shipwrecks, and discoveries of faraway lands. My heart was restless. At night, when others slept, I would sneak out to the docks and watch the ships sway, listening to the creaking wood and the whisper of the tide. My mother used to say I was born with salt water in my veins. Perhaps she was right. While other boys dreamed of fast horses or fine clothes, I dreamed of sails, compasses, and the horizon. I remember standing on the pier at 12 years old, staring at a ship leaving the harbor, and thinking, one day, that will be me. I will not just watch the world go by, we'll chase it. Of course, dreams come at a price, and the first to make me pay was my father. He believed I was foolish, chasing fantasies that would lead me to ruin. Ships are for men with no family, he would say, shaking his head. You belong here, with us. This shop feeds you, clothes you. Why trade safety for storms? But I couldn't silence the call of the sea. It was louder than reason, stronger than fear. I knew I had to leave, though I did not yet know the cost. My earliest memory of the sea is not of calm waters, but of a storm. I must have been 6 years old. My father had closed the shop early, and the whole town had gathered on the shore because a fishing boat was overdue. The sky was split open with thunder. The wind howled, and the waves rose like mountains. I clutched my mother's hand, half terrified and half exhilarated. When the boat finally appeared through the rain, broken and battered but still afloat, the crowd erupted in cheers. I remember the faces of the men on board, exhausted, soaked to the bone, but alive. That night I lay in bed thinking, that is what I want. Not the fear, but the fight. Not the safety, but the survival. To live a life worth telling stories about. From then on, I was obsessed. I carved little ships from scraps of wood, let them sail across puddles after the rain. I asked endless questions to the sailors who came to my father's shop. Some laughed and patted my head. Others told me tales of their voyages. One old sailor, with a scar across his cheek and a limp in his walk, once told me, the sea will give you everything if you ask for it. But remember, boy, it will also take everything if you're not careful. I didn't understand then what he meant. Later, I would asterisk. My father was a stern man, built from years of lifting crates and mending nets. His world was small but solid. He believed in hard work, in duty, in doing what was necessary to survive. My world, by contrast, was endless, full of possibilities. We fought often. I wanted to learn navigation. He wanted me to learn accounting. I wanted to hear stories of sailors. He wanted me to focus on how to manage inventory. He would catch me reading atlases behind the counter and snatch the books away. Dreams don't put bread on the table. He would growl. Neither does fear, I once muttered back. That earned me a slap across the face. But the more he tried to confine me, the more determined I became. I began to save little coins I earned by running errands. Every copper piece I could hide, I stored away, not for clothes or food, but for the day I could buy passage on a ship. By the time I was 17, I had grown tall and strong, my hands calloused from helping in the shop and on the docks. I had also fallen in love. Her name was Clara. She was the daughter of a fisherman, with hair the color of wheat and a laugh that could soften even the hardest day. For a while, I thought she understood me. We would sit together on the pier, and I would tell her about the places I dreamed of seeing: India, Africa, the Americas. She would smile, but her eyes always grew distant. One evening, when the sun was melting into the horizon, I told her I was saving to join a crew. She went silent for a long moment before shaking her head. "You're chasing shadows," she whispered. "This town is your home. Your family needs you. I need you. Don't throw it all away." I tried to convince her that it was not throwing away, but building something greater. She didn't see it that way. Slowly, she drifted from me, and one day I saw her walking hand in hand with another boy from town, a fisherman's son who had no dreams beyond the next catch. It broke my heart, but it also steeled my resolve. If even love could not anchor me here, then nothing could. The night I turned 18, I stood at the pier alone, the moon casting silver across the water. I had hidden enough coins to pay for passage. My father was asleep, my mother unaware. I carried only a small bag clothes, a journal, and the compass I had bought from a sailor months before. My heart pounded like a drum as I approached the captain of a merchant ship preparing to depart at dawn. He looked me up and down, skeptical. "Ever worked a deck before?" he asked. "No, sir," I admitted. "But I'll work harder than any man you have." He laughed, but something in my eyes must have convinced him. He nodded. "Very well. But know this, the sea doesn't care for boys with dreams. It will chew you up if you let it." I didn't care. I had waited my whole life for this moment. I climbed aboard, feeling the wooden planks beneath my feet as though they were the ground of a new world. As the ship pulled away from the harbor, I looked back once at the town, the little shop, the life I was leaving behind. My father's shadow did not appear on the dock. Neither did Clara's. Only the sea awaited me, and so my real journey began. Romance dies quickly on the deck of a working ship. The first weeks were hell. My hands blistered from ropes, my back ached from hauling sails, and my stomach churned with seasickness that left me weak. The crew was rough, their humor cruel, their patience thin. I was the youngest, the least experienced, and they made sure I never forgot it. But I learned. I learned to tie knots in the dark, to climb the rigging even as the wind threatened to hurl me into the abyss. I learned the feel of the sails, how to read the clouds, how to endure hunger when rations ran thin. At night, when the others slept, I stood on deck staring at the stars, marveling that they were the same ones I had studied in my atlas back home. Only now, they were my guides. I wrote in my journal whenever I could, describing the waves, the colors of the sky, the strange songs the wind made in the ropes. I was exhausted, battered, but alive, more alive than I had ever been behind the counter of my father's shop. It was on our third voyage that I faced my first true storm at sea. The sky turned black in minutes, the sea roaring like a beast. Unleashed, waves crashed over the deck, tossing men like rag dolls. I was ordered to secure the sails, and I climbed the rigging with rain stinging my eyes, the mast swaying as though it would snap. I was terrified. Every instinct screamed at me to hold on, to hide. But some stubborn part of me kept moving, tying knots with trembling hands, shouting orders to men older than me. When it was over, the deck was littered with broken barrels and splintered wood, but the ship still floated. The captain clapped me on the shoulder. "You've got salt in your blood, boy," he said. "You'll make a sailor yet." That moment burned in me like fire. For the first time, I felt I belonged. Weeks later, we reached a bustling port in a land I had only ever seen on maps. The streets were alive with colors, spices, and languages I didn't understand. I wandered like a child in a dream, drinking it all in the smell of strange food, the sight of markets filled with silk, ivory, and jewels. It was overwhelming, intoxicating. For the first time, I realized how small my town truly was. The world was vast, endless, and I was only at the beginning of discovering it. The longer I sailed, the more the sea became my teacher. Each voyage was a lesson, sometimes gentle, sometimes merciless. The ropes toughened my hands, the sun burned my skin, and the salt etched itself into my very being. What once had been agony slowly turned into second nature. I could climb the rigging without fear, patch sails in a storm, and read the wind as though it whispered directly to me. The men who once mocked me began to nod at me with a kind of respect. I wasn't just a boy with foolish dreams anymore. I had proven myself through sweat, through bruises, and through the stubborn refusal to give up when the sea tried to break me. But life at sea was not just toil, it was discovery. Each new port brought wonders I had only imagined in the pages of books. In one city, I tasted fruit so sweet, it seemed impossible it grew from the earth. In another, I heard music played on instruments I had never seen, rhythms that made my very bones want to dance. And everywhere, the sea was the constant, sometimes calm and blue, sometimes raging and black, but always calling me onward. It was during my second year that I learned the sea's cruelest lesson. We were crossing a narrow strait when a sudden gale struck. The ship heeled dangerously, and in the chaos, one of the Crutamaux, a man I had come to see, almost like an older brother, lost his footing. I can still see it, the way his hands clawed at the air, the brief scream swallowed by the wind, the splash as the waves consumed him. We threw ropes, shouted his name, but the sea gave no mercy. Within moments, he was gone. That night, the deck was silent. The men drank in grim silence, staring at nothing. I sat alone, staring at the stars, the same stars Thomas had taught me to use for navigation. I realized then that the old sailor in my father's shop had been right. The sea gives, and the sea takes. It had given me freedom, adventure, purpose. It could take life in an instant. For days afterward, I felt the weight of that truth. But strangely, it did not drive me away from the sea. If anything, it bound me closer. Life was fragile, fleeting. Better to live it fully, even with the risk, than to rot behind a counter wishing for what might have been. Years passed, and I became more than just another deckhand. I learned navigation from the first mate, studied charts by lantern light, practiced reading the stars until I could find our position even on the darkest nights. When the captain fell ill on one voyage, I was the one who guided us safely to port, relying on nothing but instinct and the lessons burned into me by years of storms. Not bad for a boy who once thought knots tied themselves, the first mate joked, clapping me on the back. Soon, I was entrusted with responsibilities. I led smaller crews on tasks, gave orders, even negotiated in markets when the captain was occupied. Each step forward felt like proof that I had been right to leave home. My father had wanted me to inherit a shop. Instead, I was building a life, far beyond anything that small town could have offered. There was one voyage I will never forget. We were carrying valuable cargo, spices and silks from the east when pirates descended upon us. Their black sails cut across the horizon like a nightmare. The captain ordered us to fight, though we were outnumbered. The clash was brutal. I had never swung a blade in earnest before, but desperation makes men dangerous. I fought with all I had, the air thick with smoke and the screams of men. At one point, a pirate lunged at me, his knife flashing. Instinct, not skill, saved me. I dodged, swung wildly, and by sheer luck, my blade found its mark. When it was over, we were bloodied but alive. The pirates fled, and our ship, though damaged, still floated. I stood shaking, my sword stained, my heart hammering. I had taken a life. I had survived a battle not of storms but of men. That night, as the crew drank to our survival, I sat apart, staring at my hands. They no longer seemed like the hands of the boy who had left home. They were a sailor's hands, marked by work, blood, and the weight of choices no boy should ever face. It was in a distant port, years after I had first set sail, that I met Isabella. She was unlike anyone I had known, confident, clever, her laughter bright as the morning sun. She worked in her father's inn, serving sailors with sharp wit and sharper eyes. That at first, I thought nothing of it. Sailors often fall for faces in ports, fleeting affections that fade with the tide. But Isabella was different. She listened when I spoke of my journeys, not with the dismissive smile Clara once wore, but with genuine wonder. For weeks, whenever our ship docked in her city, I found myself drawn to her. We would walk along the harbor at dusk, and I would tell her of storms, of stars, of the dream that had carried me across the world. She would laugh and say, "You carry the ocean in your voice." I don't know if it was love, not in the way songs and poems describe, but it was real, and it was enough to make me wonder for the first time if I could have both the sea and someone waiting for me when I returned. But sailors belong to the sea, and when our ship departed, I left Isabella behind. She waved from the pier until she was only a speck, and though I promised to return, I never did. Life carried me onward, always onward. Sometimes I still wonder what became of her. By the time I was in my late 20s, I had risen to first mate. The captain trusted me with charts, decisions, even the discipline of the crew. It was a heavy burden, but one I embraced. I had gone From the boy mocked for his soft hands to a man other sailors looked to for guidance. One voyage, when the captain fell gravely ill, the responsibility of command fell to me. We were weeks from port, supplies dwindling, and storms pressing from every side. Fear gnawed at me, but I could not show it. The men needed strength, not doubt. I plotted our course, rationed our food, and kept the crew working, even when exhaustion begged us to stop. When at last we reached safe harbor, the men cheered not for the captain, but for me. That was the first time I felt truly like a leader, not just a dreamer. The captain recovered, but from then on, he treated me as an equal. One day, he said, "You'll have your own ship, and when you do, may the sea be kinder to you than it has been to me." But the sea does not grant victories without demanding payment. On one voyage, we were struck by a storm more violent than any I had faced. The waves towered higher than houses. The wind howled like a demon, and the rain blinded us. We fought for hours, clinging to ropes, bailing water, praying to gods we hardly believed in. Then came the crash. A mast snapped like a twig, crushing 2 men instantly. Others were swept overboard, their screams lost in the chaos. By dawn, the storm had passed, but half our crew was gone, and the ship was barely afloat. We limped into the nearest port, battered and broken. For weeks afterward, I could not close my eyes without hearing the screams, without seeing the faces of men swallowed by the sea. It was then I understood more deeply than ever. The sea was not just a calling. It was a god, merciless and unrelenting, and yet, even in grief, I could not imagine leaving it behind. After more than a decade at sea, the dream that had carried me from my father's shop began to shift. No longer was it enough to serve under another man's command. I wanted my own ship, my own crew, the freedom to chart my own course across the endless blue. I saved every coin, invested wisely, took on extra voyages. Slowly, the dream became possible, a ship of my own, a vessel not borrowed, not commanded by another, but mine. The thought filled me with both fear and excitement. For years, I had proven myself, but to stand as captain meant ultimate responsibility, not just for cargo, but for lives. Could I bear that weight? I told myself I must, because the boy who once stood on the pier, dreaming of horizons, would accept nothing less. Now, as I sit here in my old age, recalling those years, I realized they were the crucible in which I was forged. The sea stripped away my innocence, tested my courage, taught me both the ecstasy of discovery and the agony of loss. I was no longer the boy who had left home. I was a man shaped by storms, tempered by struggle, and driven by a dream that had yet to reach its full form. And though I did not know it then, the greatest trials and the greatest joys still lay ahead. After more than a decade at sea, scraping coins and building connections, the day finally came. I stood on the dock, staring at the vessel that would carry my name and my dreams. The horizon's call, a sturdy, sleek ship with sails like white wings. For the first time, I was not following another man's orders. I was the captain. I ran, my hands along the deck, smelling the wood, the salt, the oil. This ship was more than wood and sails. It was freedom, responsibility, and destiny intertwined. My crew consisted of men I had known for years, some who had served under the old captain with me, some new faces hungry for adventure. I looked at their expectant eyes and felt the weight of command settle firmly on my shoulders. Steady hands, sharp minds, and courage. I told them, we sail not only for riches or fame, but for the experience of life itself. Remember, the sea is generous, but it is not forgiving. Respect it, and it will carry you farther than you have ever dreamed. Our voyages took us farther than I had ever imagined. We charted coasts no map had yet named, discovered hidden coves and islands untouched by men. Each sunrise over untraveled waters felt like a gift. The horizon was no longer a distant dream, was a daily reality. The sea tested me daily. Storms came with little warning, winds capable of ripping sails and snapping masts. Yet I had learned patience, strategy, and the courage to act decisively. Each successful navigation, each safe arrival at port, was a triumph shared with my crew. I had become not just a captain, but a leader, a guardian of men's lives and dreams. With command came decisions that could mean life or death. I had to ration food, discipline the reckless, negotiate with foreign authorities, and sometimes choose between the safety of my crew and the lure of fortune. Each choice etched itself into my memory. Once, During a crossing near treacherous reefs, I had to decide whether to risk a shortcut or sail the longer but safer route. My instincts screamed danger, yet the crew needed rest and supplies. I took the risk. Halfway through, a sudden current nearly drove us onto jagged rocks. I had to act with precision, shouting orders, adjusting sails, guiding the ship with every ounce of skill I had accumulated. By nightfall, we were safe, but the lesson was clear. Leadership was not about courage alone, it was about responsibility, foresight, and sometimes carrying a burden that no one else could see. Through the years, bonds formed that transcended blood. Men who once mocked me as a boy became my brothers. We shared laughs, scars, victories, and grief. I learned that loyalty is tested, not in calm waters, but in the heart of storms. There was a young sailor named Daniel, who reminded me of myself at Niagara, reckless, dreaming of the world beyond the horizon. I took him under my wing, taught him knots, navigation, and the subtle language of the wind. Watching him grow into a capable sailor filled me with quiet pride. He reminded me that legacy is not only the ships you command or the treasures you bring home, but the lives you shape along the way. Years after Isabella, I met another. Her name was Marianne, a trader's daughter from a coastal city we visited during one of our voyages. Unlike the fleeting port romances of my past, this connection felt steady, like a lighthouse guiding a ship home. She understood the life of the sea, not romanticizing it, but respecting its demands. We wrote letters when I was away, spoke at every port where we crossed paths, and eventually, she joined me on voyages, bringing warmth to the cold nights at sea. Love became not a distraction, but a partner in my adventures. With her, I learned that even a sailor's heart could anchor in another's soul. But the sea's lessons are never gentle. One winter, while returning from a northern trade route, a fierce blizzard struck. The horizon's core was battered, sails torn, rigging shredded, visibility vanished. Waves towered over us like mountains. We fought for hours, but the storm claimed lives. Daniel, my protege, was swept overboard. Marianne and I tried desperately to save him, but the sea's icy grip was merciless. That night, we mourned not only for Daniel, but for all the men who had given their lives to these waters. Grief became a constant companion, but it did not drive me from the sea. I had learned long ago that loss was part of the journey, not a signal to abandon it. The sea takes, but it also teaches endurance, patience, and resilience. After decades at sea, I finally felt the pull to return home. My father had passed long ago. The shop sold to strangers. The town had changed, yet walking its streets brought a strange comfort. Faces remembered me as the boy who ran away, but none could imagine the man I had become. I walked along the pier, where it all began, staring at the water that had shaped my life. The memories came unbidden. Clara's laughter, Thomas's fall, Isabella's wave, Daniel's bright eyes. I realized then that the boy who dreamed of horizons had become a man who carried entire oceans within him, not just water and waves, but experiences, losses, love, and triumphs. I now understand the truth I once could not grasp. The sea is not a destination, it's a mirror of life itself. It teaches joy and sorrow, courage and humility, freedom and responsibility. It demands respect and patience. It can be cruel and generous in equal measure. As I sit at my desk, recording my journals, I do not write them for fame or wealth. I write them so that someone, perhaps a young dreamer looking at the horizon, may understand that life is an adventure worth taking, even when the storms seem unbearable. The boy I was running from a small town into the unknown is long gone, but in his place stands a man who has seen the world, lost and loved, conquered fear, and embraced responsibility. The sea has shaped me, but it has also given me the greatest gift. The knowledge that a life fully lived is richer than any treasure carried in a ship's hold. Even now, I feel the tug of the waves. Though I have grown old, my heart still belongs to the water. I know that one day, I would take my final voyage not on a ship of wood and sail, but on the one all men must eventually board. Until then, I cherish every memory, every storm survived, every friendship, every love. I have sailed not just the oceans, but the vast, unpredictable sea of life itself. And I am grateful. I am a sailor, a captain, a dreamer, a man forged by waves and wind, loss and love. And though the horizon stretches endlessly before me, I know that I have lived fully, fearlessly, and without regret.